Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. I'm Chiamaka Ohawuchi. Last episode, we brought you the story of the sensitization workshop organized by the Taxpayer Services Department of the FIRS on bookkeeping and documentation, the role of taxpayers, tax consultants, and traditional rulers in facilitating voluntary tax compliance. And we did promise to bring you more from the papers presented at the event. There are numerous benefits of keeping accurate books of records in running your business, but the end result is to help you fulfill your tax obligations in addition to growing your business. As a business, whether small, medium, or large, there are important books of records and documents you have to keep. Mr. Oladele Abiodun delivered the first paper on the imperatives of keeping accurate books of record. Take a listen.
Nothing stops a small company from continuing to file audited financial statements. However, where the account filed for tax purposes is not a standard audited financial statement, such an account must have at least the following components: the statement of profit or loss, statement of financial position, and notes to the account. So for a small company, these are the minimum books you are expected to keep: records of individual sales, record of individual costs and expenses, records of assets, cash and bank accounts, sales invoices. Every medium-sized company should at least keep the following books: records and documents: record of individual sales, electronic version of sales records, or if you don't have that, you can do a spreadsheet. Record of individual costs and expenses, cash and bank accounts, third-party documents supporting purchases and expenses. Then to documentation. Examples of relevant documents to be kept by companies will include, but not limited to, sales receipts, sales invoices, purchase invoice, cash book, daily sales books, contract documents with third parties, bank statements, e-tickets showing payment of taxes,
on penalties and sanctions for failing to keep records.
Any company that on request by the service fails to provide any record or book prescribed under subsections 1 to 3 shall be liable to pay as penalty 100,000 in the first month in which the failure occur, and 50,000 for each subsequent month in which the failure continues. Please note that all the books and records that are required to be kept under this section shall be kept for a period of at least 6 years after the year of assessment in which the incomes relate.
Invaluable piece of advice there for you. Next was a presentation on the roles of tax consultants with regards to taxpayers' rights and obligations, delivered by Mr. Abdulmajid Abdulkari.
A tax consultant advises and guides clients on tax-related matters. They work with individual and organizations to ensure they comply with tax laws and help minimize potential tax liability legally. In addition to assisting the taxpayer in exercising their rights and observing their obligation, a tax consultant has the following obligation: continuous taxpayers education. Also, tax consultants have responsibility to prepare and file return. It's your right as tax consultant to let your client know the right capital allowance to claim, when to claim loss relief, the benefits available to him or her by filing early. The key area as a tax consultant is to guide your taxpayer, guide your client to pay rightly.
The audience subsequently took turns to ask questions, and in return, answers were given. The third paper on Tax Pro Max, delivered by Mr. Aliyu of the Tax Pro Max team of the FIRS, will come to you very soon on Tax Matters. Watch out!
It is an offense punishable by a fine of 10 million naira and or imprisonment for any agency of the federal government other than FIRS to demand for books or returns for the purposes of tax. It is also an offense to carry out the function of assessment, collection or enforcement of tax, or pay any portion of tax revenue to any person or into any account other than the relevant accounts designated by the Constitution or relevant laws of the National Assembly. It pays to pay your tax. This message is brought to you by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
Good to still have you with us. We have been sharing with you what transpired at the one-day sensitization workshop organized by the Taxpayer Services Department of the FIRS, and we ended that segment with the bit on the roles of tax consultants with regards to taxpayers' rights and obligations. Tax consultants in this instance are men and women qualified and so certified to practice taxation. The CITN is the body empowered by law to regulate the practice of taxation in Nigeria. And so, from time to time, the Institute admits new members who are qualified to practice taxation, first as associate members, and then, following the fulfillment of certain conditions, associate members become fellows. On Thursday, the 7th of December 2023, the CITN held her 49th induction ceremony, at which 1,055 men and women were admitted and became licensed to practice taxation. The induction ceremony was preceded by a two-day pre-induction orientation program held from Tuesday the 5th to Wednesday the 6th of December 2023. Welcoming inductees to the 49th induction ceremony was Dr. Titilayo Fowokon, Chairman, Membership and Professional Conduct Committee of the Institute.
This induction is not just a formality, it is the first step towards becoming an integral part of the Institute. As you become a member, there is a high expectation in your role as a tax professional, either in the industry, tax practice, or tax administration, as a good ambassador of the Institute.
Like most nations of the world, Nigeria stands on the brink of a transformative era, ushered in by a technological revolution that brought with it both challenges and opportunity for taxation and economic development. We as tax professionals must continually support the development and implementation of tax policy options, rules and frameworks that will maximize the benefit of the taxing rules for Nigeria. In recognizing the intricate challenges that Nigeria faces in the physical and taxation landscape, one cannot overlook the commendable effort by the current government of Nigeria. The establishment of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms reflects a resolute commitment to charging a course of suitable economic growth through effective and efficient taxation. CITN is optimistic that the outcome of the committee's work, if properly implemented, holds great potential for bridging fiscal policy gaps and fortified taxation frameworks in Nigeria.
Special guest of honor was Dr. Akinde Aremu, Rector, Federal Polytechnic Ilaro. Dr. Aremu delivered the keynote address. Awards were presented to inductees who distinguished themselves in the April 2023 professional examination of the CITN. Among the awardees was Suleiman Mohammed Osman, who bagged 4 awards, while Ogunshola Olawale Olukayode won the overall Best Graduating Student Award. And then, the high point of the event.
My esteemed President, I have here standing 1,055 applicants, comprising 284 from ANA, 366 from ICANN, 149 from our CITN Tax Academy, and 26 from final of JTB and FIRS Senior Inspector of Taxes. We also have among them 230 graduates, those who passed through the Institute exam. Having fulfilled all the conditions and requirements of Council, I hereby present to you for official induction.
I hereby call on all the inductees who are standing to raise their right hand and take the oath of allegiance as follows. So say after me, I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I shall always comply with the provision of the Institute Charter, bear true allegiance to the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, obey all rules and regulations, so help me God. Congratulations.
And from the 16th president of the institute,
The first thing we expect as an institute from them is competence. Following that is that we need integrity. Taxation profession can be sometimes tempting. So we don't want people who will undercut what the clients are supposed to pay to the government. If the client or the taxpayer is supposed to pay 100 naira to the purse of government, please ensure that that is paid to the government. And those who are going to be in the administration, we also tell them, if you are supposed to collect 100 naira from taxpayer, please don't collect 101. Collect 100 out of 100. Let integrity be our watchword.
still on activities to end the year 2023 for the CITN. The next day, Friday the 8th of December, the institute held 2 events. The first was the conferment of fellowship on 473 associate members of the institute.
Fellowship is not merely an honor, it is a responsibility, a commitment to uphold the highest standards of profession, to mentor and inspire the next generation, and to contribute to the advancement of tax practice.
The 16th president of the institute was ably represented by the deputy vice president, Mr. Simon Kano.
It is pertinent to restate to our distinguished would-be fellows that the expectations of counsel from you are now broad-based. You are required to project the institute positively through ethical conduct and by striving for excellence at all times. As fellow of the institute, council will rely on your wealth of knowledge in developing the tax profession in Nigeria while advising government on critical fiscal policies as it affects taxation and the economy.
Keynote address was delivered by the Executive Chairman, FCT IRS, Mr. Haruna Abdullahi, who was the special guest of honor. And then, the high point of the event.
My President, sir, standing before you is 473 associate members who have fulfilled all the requirements of council to become a fellow of this great institute. I hereby present them to be conferred the fellow of the institute.
I would request you to please raise your right hand and say after me, I do solemnly swear that I shall always comply with the provisions of the institute's charter, bear true allegiance to the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. So help me God. I congratulate you.
Later that evening, the institute held her annual dinner and awards ceremony to recognize and appreciate individuals, organizations, and staff who have contributed to the growth of the institute in no small measure. The event was used as an opportunity to launch the institute's e-ID card and membership yearbook.
We are introducing the CITN e-ID card and membership yearbook platform. We are indeed revolutionizing membership experience.
This is a very innovative idea. I am very, very proud of the institute. The card stands declared.
Now to the awards. Under the legislative member category, Honorable Babangida Ibrahim Mahuta was awarded, while Honorable Architect Lanre Okunlola was awarded in the non-member category. Outstanding Service to the Taxation Profession Award went to Alhaji Hamzat Balogun, Mrs. Ifeolu Tekoni, and Mr. Adamu Mohammed Misal in the individual member category. In the Education Regulatory Body of the Year category, the National Universities Commission was recognized, while the University of Lagos was presented the Tertiary Institution of the Year award. For the Corporate Organization of the Year category, Acklin Oil and Gas Limited, MTN, the Niger Delta Development Commission, Stars Investment Company, and Ako Group of Company were recognized and presented awards. In the media category, Mr. Timothy Eribemi Shorunke was awarded the Social Media Influencer of the Year, while Daily Trust newspaper won the Print Media of the Year award. For the District Society of the Year, the Bauchi and District Society, as well as the Yola and District Society, received awards. In the Government Category Award, FCT Internal Revenue Service was awarded. Long Service Awards were presented to staff who have served the Institute meritoriously. The first category was for those who have served the Institute for 10 years. The next was for those who have served for 15 years, and the last category was for those who have served for a period of 20 years. For the Best Staff of the Year award, this was won and received by Adebenga Nusar as the Head of Departments of the Year, Moshood Adetona as the Male Staff of the Year, and Omolara Olatomewa as the Female Staff of the Year. Big congratulations to all the inductees, fellows, and awardees. You're watching Tax Matters. We want to continue our feature on the 30 years anniversary of value-added tax in Nigeria. Last episode, we brought you the first installment of our interview with Chief David Olorunleke, former Chairman FIRS, former Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance. Chief Olorunleke is still our guest today. Chief Olorunleke, thank you for joining us on Tax Matters.
Thank you.
Now, VAT is 30 years old. What is your assessment of the journey so far?
In my own view, I'm not on the field now. I just feel that many are not sticking to it rigidly in accordance with the bill, because many people are not paying back what they have collected. Some of the companies that are collecting on behalf of government, instead of remitting it, they are pocketing it. And if the FRS staff goes to these companies, the tendency is, how much have you collected on VAT? They will show them perhaps a document to show a reduced amount of sales they have made. And then the FRS will probably compute 7.5% of that figure of sales. And that is what they charge them. Whereas they probably have hidden some sales figure somewhere, not disclosed to the FRS staff. And that is how to reduce and cheat the government.
We must hasten to point out at this juncture that as far as the administration of VAT is concerned, and indeed with regard to many other tax types, the FIRS has indeed moved the needle. Things have greatly improved, resulting in unprecedented revenue yields. It all began with the VAT auto-collect for the collection of VAT at source, first from the aviation sector and from there to other sectors like the retail industry, the hospitality industry, resulting in the blockage of leakages. VAT auto-collect was followed by the recent introduction of withheld VAT, under which telecommunications giants MTN and Airtel and money deposit banks were appointed as source deduction agents to deduct VAT at source from their suppliers. The telecoms giants and the banks were joining oil and gas industry players who had played this role of VAT deduction agents at source for decades. Still on reforming VAT administration, the FIRS also recently launched the VAT Direct initiative, whereby it is partnering with the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, MATAN, to ensure transparency and efficiency in the collection and remittance of VAT within the informal sector. With the deployment of the Tax Pro Max solution, an in-house end-to-end tax administration solution by the FIRS, the filing and remittance of VAT have become seamless and without or with minimal human interference. This has greatly facilitated the achievement of the aim of the self-assessment regime in the administration of taxation in Nigeria. Chief Olorunleke continues.
If there is anything that is easier to collect, is VAT. All other countries have enjoyed collecting revenue through VAT because it's the most appropriate tax. The more you consume, the more you pay. If you don't consume, you don't pay. It's a fair tax. It's so easy to collect. Some people are now on 22, 24. We are still on 7.5% and 5%. We said we should go to 10, but other people said 7.5 is okay as of now. But nobody is on 7.5 for my reckoning. If we are able to collect more on VAT, we can reduce the main tax because this is easier to collect and therefore more prominent and more adequate as tax. Because if you don't consume, you don't pay.
Would you like to comment on the ongoing quest of the states to take over the administration of VAT in their respective jurisdictions, which has led to the enactment of consumption tax laws in some states?
I understand some states are thinking because it's a consumption tax and therefore every state should be free to introduce and collect it on their own. But if you collect it on your own, you will not be able to collect other states' own. And that is why you cannot implement VAT and expect the market woman throughout the country to be the sales collector. If everybody is able to have a shop and document every product they are selling, then it will be easier to localize the collection of VAT. But because there is no such thing in our distribution arrangement in the country, all we have is open markets. And we don't keep records in these open markets. You just go pay your cash and go away. How do you collect VAT under that circumstance? It is impossible. So you have to locate the main distributor who will now be able to keep records of what is distributing and tax at that point and remit to inland revenue. But the person who is distributing must be the person to do your collection under the present circumstances because they are the only people who can keep the records of what they are distributing and what they are imposing on VAT. VAT is best collected by one single authority, not the fractionalization which some states are wanting to do on it, because you will not be able to do it apart from the few things that the state will be able to collect. You will not be able to collect other things which the FIRS is also introducing into VAT. So I feel honestly that we should have faith in what we are doing at the moment and try to perfect it by making sure that the whole documentation is improved upon.
Chief David Olorunleke, we really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The doyen there for you. Chief David Ajibola Olorunleke, 85 years old and still growing strong. It is always a pleasure to be in the presence of Chief Olorunleke. We are looking at 30 years of VAT in Nigeria, the journey so far. The story of the journey continues in subsequent episodes of Tax Matters. We thank you for riding with us on today's episode of Tax Matters. Remember to take advantage of the lifeline given out by the FIRS on the waiver of penalties and interest for companies' income tax filers, provided the principal sum is offset before 31st December 2023. You have just a few days left. To all our viewers, here's wishing you a joyous Christmas and a prosperous year 2024. Enjoy the best of the season. See you next week.